preseason poll. They do have 5 returners coming back. Where does this team need to improve to work their way up?
Well, they're looking for a completely new identity right now. There's no secret. Jaden Gardner, who's been statistically the most effective scorer in the American Conference for the last 3 years, transferred, and one of the all-time great players in the history of East Carolina. Everything ran through him. But you have a really solid backcourt. So I expect ECU's offensive defense to look much different than the previous years. Could be totally wrong, but I would assume that when your focal point is gone, you're going to have to tweak some things. But that backcourt, there's enough talent there where you could do a lot of things on both ends of the floor. As me optimistic about the Pirates.
Brooke, your thoughts on where they need to be this season?
You know, sometimes when you have one guy who the offense runs through, you become kind of easy to guard because you can send 2 or 3 guys and neutralize him, right? Now, if you have a couple of other different scorers, you got J.J. Miles, Jalen Forbes, who's a transfer from Alabama. This is an offense that Joe Dooley says there's been times where it's been easy to put things in. And if you have 3, 4, 5 guys who can average double figures, that makes you a much more dangerous team than one guy who's scoring 20 a night.
Well, we are going to hear from Joe Dooley in just a bit. But first, J.J. Miles, the player is joining us now, earned a 5th year this season, super senior from East Carolina. And J.J., thanks so much for joining us. What did you want to accomplish in this final 5th senior season?
Well, I just want to do my part of my team, make my team better, and most importantly, like graduate and get my degree as well.
When you look at this program from where it was a year ago, where have you seen some of the development, the improvement over the offseason?
I mean, I've seen a lot of improvements. Like the return guys we got, like I feel like we're doing a better more job of being leaders for the younger and the new guys who come to our organization and just showing them how we do things here at ECU.
JJ, Mike O'Donnell here in the studio. Love watching you play. You're a terrific three-point shooter, but I have some advice for you. You got to take the guards out for dinner every once in a while because I think they miss you 2 or 3 times in the game, especially in the left and right corners. But how's the backcourt and the offense been looking somewhat different leading into this season?
I mean, I've said like returning guard like Tristan, Suggs, and Tremont. I feel like they improved a lot, and we got younger freshmen who work really hard. So I think the backcourt looking very good this year.
JJ, Brooke Weisbrod here. One of the team building exercises that you guys have done is you've all learned how to box. So I'm just wondering, who is the best boxer on your team, and can you show us that maybe like jab cross you build up?
For me, you know, I'm the best fighter always wherever I'm at. So you know.
What was he going to say? After last year and having no fans in the stands, the Mingus Maniacs are back. Have you thought at all about what that will feel like being on the court and being able to be surrounded by the crowd again?
Yeah, I mean, like, I love the fans here at Mingus, so, you know, it's motivation. Like last year, like you said, we didn't have fans, so I think it's a good opportunity to have the fans back and get after it this year.
You know, a guy that came into your team that I think is a really interesting fit is Vance Jackson. I think he takes a lot of pressure off you, JJ, from having to do a lot on the court, but how has Vance been able to adapt and come in chemistry-wise with this East Carolina team?
Well, Vance, he's a good dude. He worked very hard. Like I said, he got a lot of experience with college basketball, so him adapting wasn't very hard for him. But, like, yeah, he's a very talented player.
JJ, we have some questions via the media on Zoom. We'll toss them your way. Here's Tom.
Thanks, Chris. We'll go to our first question from Stephen Igo of Hoist the Colors.
JJ, in the past, you've been one of the few maybe consistent three-point shooters on the team. This year, that might change with some of the new guys coming in. How do you think that'll help out you and the offense as a whole?
I feel like, yeah, it's good that we got more shooters, you know, to space the floor out, create opportunities for others, you know, take pressure off me, like you said.
All right, our next question will become from Bubba Rosenbaum of Sports Objective.
AJ, talk about the new guys coming into the program. Just talk about how they made that transition, be advanced.
Can you repeat that, so I couldn't hear you.
AJ, just talk about the new reference past program. Just talk
Hey, Bubba, I think the volume is down. We'll get back to you in just a minute. Stephen Igo, why don't you have a follow-up?
JJ, you guys are picked to finish 11th. Do you ignore that, or do you use that as motivation going into the season?
I feel we use it as motivation for sure. We got bad luck with COVID and all, but we really can't use that excuse. So we just use that as motivation to work hard and get better every day.
All right, let's give it a try to let's go to Eric Gillickson right now.
Hey JJ, how does boxing and that mentality help you guys with basketball?
Well, it was really cardio workout, and it teach you footwork and the focus on main points. So it was a good experience and good team bonding.
Trying to go back to the other guy.
Give it another try to Bubba Rosenbaum, see if it goes.
JJ, a few minutes ago you referenced the newcomers program. If you would talk about how Vance, Winston, and the freshmen, how they make that transition.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that one more time?
With the newcomers to the program, talk about how the 3 Division I transfers and Vance, Winston, and Zoe, and then also those freshmen, how they've made that transition.
Well, like I said, I feel like they're doing a very good job in the transition. There's always room for improvement, and we got more practices in the long season to go. So I think they do it very good with their transition here.
JJ Miles, we thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you guys tip off the season here shortly.
Yes, ma'am.
JJ referenced it, Mike, the cancellations last year. They had 13 games canceled, postponed due to COVID. When you're a team that's trying to build a rhythm and a plan through a season, the stop and start, how difficult was that on them last year?
It's different for every team depending on what your pieces are and how long you've played together. But Coach Dooley was quoted a few weeks ago in saying it actually affected our offense more than our defense. He felt like their defense was set, but they couldn't find any rhythm on offense and no continuity. So many teams were focused on Jaden Gardner that it was hard to find that rhythm outside of Gardner if he wasn't scoring. So you do feel there might be a shift in the winds of the Pirates' sails this season, and it might be a little bit more offense, especially coming from the backcourt. I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, the difficult non-conference schedule, November 18th against Oklahoma. Want to get to know a little bit more about this team? Here's Morgan Uber with some fun facts about these players.
Alonso and Alexis Reyes were both members of the Dominican Republic national team. Frank, a transfer from South Carolina, was a part of the team in 2016 and 17, while freshman Reyes followed right after in 2018 and 19. While they never crossed paths then, they're now teammates here at East Carolina.
We're going to join Coach Joe Dooley now, the men's head coach for ECU. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. When you look at this program right now, what have you learned about your team in the short amount of practices that you've had so far this fall?
Well, obviously we're a little bit different. We do have some experience back with the young men that JJ talked about with JJ Miles and Brandon Suggs, Tristan Newton, Luigi DeBow. Those guys all played a lot of minutes. I think we were able to add some mature pieces with 3 BCS transfers with Winston Tabbs and Alonso and Vance Jackson. I think those guys have really fit in. Then the freshman class and the newcomers, I think, have really blended very well.
Coach, you talked about last season, COVID shutdowns really affecting your offense and just lack of continuity, just stuff completely out of your control. How do you feel the offense so far in the limited time you've had with your team? You're getting somewhat back to normal. Do you feel your offense is starting to develop continuity, at least where you'd like it to be at this point in the process?
Yeah, at this point, I like where we are offensively. Obviously, you always want to get better, but the ball moves better, much better movement, much better one more pass, much better driving. I think, obviously, offense is a continuity type deal. It's a feel, a lot of repetitions, and I think the guys have done a nice job so far.
Coach Brooke Weisbrod, one of the things you've said is that it's been easy to put things in your offense this year. And how does that put you ahead already versus last year?
Well, I think everybody was in an awkward situation last year. You have, you're having practice, you're not sure who's going to practice. You have practices, which can happen even with injuries, but you have practices where you're limited in numbers. You have practices where it's one person on a basket with a coach and a manager. So I think being able to have guys out there in groups of 5 and having guys being able to have a feel with each other, play pickup during the off season, play 5-on-5 more, even in the off season, probably help these guys get a feel for who each other were and what they're capable of doing. So I think it makes it a lot easier to implement offense because they have a feel for each other.
Coach, we have some questions from the media via Zoom now. We'll toss those your way.
Thanks, Chris. Our first question will come from Stephen Igo of Hoist the Colors.
Coach, we talked about Winston Tabbs a few weeks ago at practice. How's he coming along health-wise? And then if he is able to get to 100% healthy, how much of a different dimension does he bring to the offense?
Well, he's been working his way back into practice. He's not at full practice duration yet. Has about an hour and 15 to an hour and a half limit to right now. So he is working his way back in. Hopefully by next week we'll even increase that a little bit more. I think with him, he's got to get his timing back. He was out recovering, so that'll take him a little time to get back to speed. But when you look historically what he's done, his numbers are real. Played at a high level in the ACC. He was a proven scorer. I think adds another dynamic to our offense, and he's played at a high level, so I think he's familiar with what he's going up against in the AAC.
And Coach, the preseason poll came out the other day. You guys were picked to finish last. Is that a motivation at all for your team, or do you just kind of ignore that and focus on improving?
We both focus on improving. I mean, I think the guys will focus on that more because they want to prove it wrong. But I don't think if you focus on those things, I don't think that does anything. So it's focusing on getting better, focusing on our program getting better, and I think that will motivate the guys.
All right, now we'll go to Bubba Rosenbaum at the Sports Objective.
Good morning, Coach. Talk about some of the strides you've seen from the returning players, such as J.J. Miles, Tremont Robinson-White, et cetera.
Well, I think J.J. is a great story. I think the maturity he's had and shown especially over the last 6 to 8 months is incredible. I mean, from the academic standpoint all the way through every other standpoint, he's been unbelievable. He's been a really good leader in practice. I do think the returning guys sort of know what to expect, from practice and what the expectations are. And I think all these guys have a greater appreciation. You look last season, we played 19 games, and how quickly a season can go by and you can't get them back. So I do think they've thought about that. I think players throughout the country are thinking about that, sort of some regards almost a lost year. And I think they have to develop an appreciation that, you can't play forever and that you got to take advantage of it while you can. I think the returning guys we have really matured and really done a good job of trying to express that to the younger guys.
All right, we'll go to a follow-up from Stephen Igo.
Coach, when you look at kind of the roster overhaul that you did this offseason, the second one, and maybe your tenure back here, but a little different because you have guys returning, 5 guys returning and also 7 new guys coming in. How do you maybe compare and contrast what you did going into your second year versus what you guys are doing now?
Well, I think the big thing is we were able to add guys that could play right away. I mean, our first couple of years we couldn't take grad students. We were able to take a grad student in Vance, and then with Winston and Zoe being automatically eligible, I think that enables us to develop the program quicker, develop the team quicker. The first year if we had taken transfers, they would have had us sit. We weren't in a position to take any grad transfers, but now with Vance and hopefully going forward, we'll be able to plug some guys in. I think it's going to be, free agency for all of us for the next foreseeable future. So these roster changes, you have to be adjustable and make adjustments on the fly and be ready to plug in guys every single year.
Coach Michael Down in the studio. I am curious from a macro perspective. You've been around this game a long time at every level. Is there anything that you were kind of forced to do as a coach last season that you think you might carry throughout that you may have just kind of learned about coaching in general?
Well, I think it really showed that you can't. There's so many things you can't control. So why worry about things you can't control? I mean, you could go to practice and have a practice plan of having 10 people, and next thing you know, you've got 4 or 5. So why beat yourself up about that? Control the things you can control. Let the things you can't control go away, and don't worry about the white noise of those things.
All right, and our final question will go to a follow-up from Bubba Rosenbaum.
Coach, if you would talk about our non-conference schedule. You face the likes of Liberty at an NBA arena in Charlotte, and then you also take on Oklahoma in a very solid tournament down in Myrtle Beach, and then you also get to play Old Dominion at home.
Well, I think one of the things, I would like to continue to schedule better, which we will. I think the dynamics of scheduling are also, things, we have to keep getting our RPI down and our metrics down, but I think we do have a good schedule for our team this year. Get some home games to get the Pirate fans fired up. Great MTE in Myrtle Beach. I think it'd be a really cool experience for our guys to play in an NBA arena, which might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for some of these guys. And then obviously a great AAC slate, especially with some home games.
Coach Dooley, we really appreciate the time. You guys tip off the season November 9th. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.